Hello everyone, welcome back Perkins Engineering YouTube channel. As you know, this year we wouldn't have been able to do as many videos as we can without the thanks and the generosity to Automation Solutions. Fantastic to have Automation Solutions presenting this year's series, so big thanks to them. Without further ado, let's get stuck into this episode. And I'm currently sat inside the 1994 VP Holden Commodore. P019 is the chassis number, and in this particular episode I want to look at gear levers, gear knobs, gear levers, gear sticks, and have a bit of a chat about how that changed over time. Really fortunate in this car, we actually found the original gear lever, and engraved in it had Bath 94, so we were able to put this back in the car. And as you'll see, it's a straight up and down lever. It's got the trusty Perkins Engineering Volkswagen bump rubber as a gear knob, and it mounts straight into the Hollinger gearbox. No remote shifters, and I've taken the gear selector cover off so you can have a good look at that, because it comes straight out the road car gearbox spot. So you can quite comfortably grab all the gears in the gearbox. The knob's really quite a nice feel. And based on the seat position and whatnot, that gear lever setup is perfect for this car. So I'll grab the camera, I'll have a closer look at it for you, and then we'll have a look at some of the other gear levers in the other cars, and we'll have a look at a few on the bench as well. So this is, as I said, the 1994 gear lever, very similar to what's in the 93 car. I've taken off the surround here so you can see how we utilize the factory gearbox hole in these cars for where the gear lever pokes out, and this is a straight up and down lever like I touched on. The Volkswagen bump rubber. So for those of you that follow our videos and Facebook very closely, you know when we looked at LP's Volkswagen rally car restoration, we pointed out the bump rubber as the Perkins Engineering gear knob. So that is a very trusty thing that's been in the cars for many years, and that knob or the rubber is mounted to this aluminium hex part, which is made in-house, and then the gear stick is actually made by Hollingers, so it threads on here, and it's got a jam nut, and that joins those two, keeps that tight. And like I said, the gear stick is made by Hollinger. Tape it a little bit so it gets a bit stiffer, a bit more material down the base, and the three standard mounting holes into the gearbox. The only thing that's missing here is we normally place a little bit of tubing in here just so that doesn't pressurize. It enables a bit of breathing. So maybe the end of a biro or the end of a WD-40 can, those little tubes, we just place that down there, enables that to breathe. So that's the 94 car. Okay, so let's have a look at the gear lever in the 2003 car, and because the seat position's further back now in these cars, you'll notice the gear lever, and we'll go into this a little bit more in depth on the bench, but you'll notice the gear lever's got two big bends in it to get it closer to the driver, and it's a lot different gear knob now with a wire running out of it. So this is the second year for Perkins Engineering with shift cut knobs. So that's a Hollinger shift cut knob. It's got a Hall switch inside it that then allows the engine to cut for 20, 30, 40 milliseconds, however you set up the parameters, so that you can flat shift effectively. And then that's still got a similar jam nut system there where it can nip up tight against the knob, which has got a thread on the gear lever. Gear lever made by Hollinger, and very similar setup down here at the gearbox. The difference is now between the gearbox and the mounting plate, there's what we call a riser block, and that's how you change the leverage of the gear lever, of the shifting, sorry. So those riser blocks changed quite a lot, especially when the sequential gearbox came in, to change the length, if you like, of the gear lever at the top when you're shifting gears. So you'll notice when we swing on this gear lever, if I just get into position, from a particular gear there back to second, it's quite a lot of movement. So in sequential land, they move to shorten that with the Hollinger sequential. You'll see it's got a little breather hole in the boot here, which is different to how we do it on the 94 and the 93 cars. And then that hall switch movement, you'll see that's the switch that cuts the engine. So just that small switch, enough as you're shifting gears to cut the engine and allow you to flat shift without getting off the throttle or touching the clutch. Time to jump over to the HRT car, and based on the fact that it's got a transaxle, it's an incredibly different setup. So basically the gear lever, there's no transaxle in the car at the moment, but the gear lever, if you see, pushes and pulls a rod that goes to the back of the car, which is connected to the shifting mechanism on top of the transaxle and changes gears at the back of the car. The only thing that kind of carried over in this respect when they ditched the trusty Hollinger for the gearbox and the boot was the gear knob. So this Motorsport Electronics gear knob became quite a very trusty gear knob in both H pattern and sequential guys, and you'll notice a lot of the teams ran that pre 2013, but you'll see it in sports sedans, marked cars, all sorts of stuff, because it's a very capable shift cut knob, and it's got different settings for H pattern, obviously, when you're going to push and pull a gear stick in different directions across the gates and stuff. But yeah, that's a billet aluminium gear lever, billet mounting system, so you're quite a lot different to what you've seen in a previous car. But let's whip over to the workbench now and have a look at some of the differences that we can show you with the original Hollinger gear levers. Okay, so I wanted to get a bit of stuff out here on the bench. Still got the caliper stuff out here from when we filmed the caliper videos, but starting with the gear levers, like we touched on, there's basically straight ones, and then they ended up quite bent to get them closer to the driver. So in a little bit of a timeline, obviously as the driver started getting further back in the car, they started to get these one bend and then two bends. So you see, if we put those two side by side, you can see that they're pretty close, but then the angle of the second bend became quite an issue for the driver. So they then started to get them sharper bends at both ends, and you can see, quite a lot more bend in this gear lever, getting them closer. And then some bad memories, 2004 I think it was, Gold Coast, when we were running 4 cars in the main game. I think one race, 3 of the 4 cars all broke gear levers, and that's what this yellow is, because these were identified as quite weak at a particular mileage point. Drivers swinging off them, unbelievable amount of load goes through here. And so yellow in our terms is no-go. NFG stands for no effing good. And then you'll see our next version of gear lever, an enormous more material through those sections there to strengthen the gear lever up after that infamous Gold Coast 2004. When I spoke about the riser blocks, that's what these are. So you see the difference size in blocks gives you different leverage points, but it also then means you need different length selectors. So you'll see here, see the different lengths there. So this is the fixed point, and then that different length is for a different riser block to give you different leverage. So that would be a 30 mil, most commonly found on the RD6 Hollinger sequential. I'm going to say that's 20 mil and 10 mil, or thereabouts. So different size riser blocks, and then our trusty gear knob. So again, if you wanted a little bit more leverage on that, we made a longer stalk for the Volkswagen knob, and then that's our sort of PE factory spec just there. Then going into shift cut land, our first shift cut was actually something similar shaped to a Volkswagen gear knob. We made this in-house, and it had contact switch here. So if you mount the gear lever rigid and you push the knob over, those two metal points touch, causing the shift cut, but it wasn't a very good shift cut because if the driver leant on the gear lever before the gear shift, it would cut the engine. So that was one of our first versions, X039, so sort of chassis 36, 37, 38, 39, would have ran those in 2002. Then we move into the Hollingers, which we saw in 2003. This is a Hollinger one that someone's put some cuts in just to try and give it a bit more grip. Probably a particular driver. My memory serves me correctly, I reckon that's Anthony Tratt's gear knob. He was having problems swinging off the lever, so the guys roughed that up for him, give him a bit more grip. And then when we went to sequential land, everyone said you needed to have a 888 gear knob, but everyone other than 888 managed to get these to work. They were a very unreliable setup, and we couldn't really get it to work that well. So Dad and the team decided to make their own one, and this is a very good setup. We used a motorbike grip, which was fantastic, and it would basically lever here and turn these. There's a spring in there, and these would contact switches here, and you could have two different settings on a switch, and as you're pulling back on the sequential, obviously it only works one way, that would cut the engine for a particular time as well. So that's what we used. So there's a bit of a snapshot on gear levers, gear knobs, everything to do with the gear levers and whatnot in these cars. So thanks for tuning in. Again, big thanks to Automation Solutions, family business, providing automated, flexible systems to suit your business. So we've spoken about custom robot solutions, PLC machine controls, and we're actually going to jump on a road trip with Brett soon to go and make this video on their stuff. Really looking forward to getting up to one of their customers in Wodonga and filming a video on all their stuff to do with this bad boy, the little robot. So thanks again, Automation Solutions. Please get on their Facebook, Automation Solutions Australia. Also their YouTube channel, give them some love. There's some cool videos. We shared one the other day of their arms spraying the cows. Really impressive stuff, and I find that stuff mind-boggling. Perkins Engineering, limited time now until the end of June. We've got that discount code on the t-shirts, PE sale, $15 off end of financial year sale. So that's going to be gone by the 1st of July. But a few other things might pop up on that store soon. So thanks for the support. Like and subscribe our YouTube channel, Perkins Engineering, and thanks again for all the support. Thanks for the comments. Keep writing to us. We'll write back to all of them and give us some more video ideas. We love it. Cheers.